It is 7 a.m. Quorum is present, and the meeting has been duly called and posted in the time and manner required by law. I would like to invite Jeff Hooks, deacon at First Cumberland Presbyterian Church, to open our meeting with a prayer and lead the audience in the pledges to the American and Texas flags. Deacon Hooks.
Thank you. Let us bow our heads, please. Dear Lord, we ask to grant our school leaders the gifts of clarity and wisdom as they make decisions that impact the lives of students, educators, and community. May your divine wisdom guide them to choose what is best for all. With their hearts, fill their hearts with discernment, understanding, and compassion. We thank you for the many blessings you give us. Watch over us and guide us in thine own way throughout our lives. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now let's honor the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Deacon Hooks. We appreciate you being here and starting our day off on a high note. We appreciate you. Thank you. All right, we do have some recognitions today. We're going to recognize Texas FFA Agri-Science Fair State Qualifiers. I would like to invite Michelle Pianzik, Coordinator of Agriculture Education, to the podium. Michelle, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing us to honor these students today. Both of these students competed at the State Agri-Science Fair in July. Amarachi Uche Ibo was the state champion in her division, and she is actually a national finalist. So she sent her manuscript to nationals. They judged it there, and she's notified that she was a finalist. And so she has an interview next Monday where she'll be competing for that. And so we're real proud of her. She looked at methane, how much methane, pig manure, cattle manure, and the combination of the two would give off as an alternative energy source for third world countries. And so we're very proud that Dr. Joan Saturi helped her. He's with the Davis College of Agriculture, and she's also coached by Mr. McKenzie.
Let's do a photo just us two. And then
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, okay. Yep.
Thank you. And Amarachi, thank you. Amarachi is also a Texas FFA Ford Scholar, so that's pretty exciting too. Penelope, Penelope Jetter was a state champion runner-up in her division. Only the first place get to go to nationals to compete, but Penelope took some beef eye rounds, and she used papaya and pineapples as meat tenderizers, and then her control group was no tenderizer. And so she looked to see which was the best. She did some taste panels to see which had the best flavor. And so we're real excited for her. And she's a freshman. Amarachi's a senior, but I guess she's a sophomore. She was a freshman last year. So Penelope Jetter. And she's also... She's also coached by Mr. McKenzie. And both of these young ladies attend Talkington, and they're part of the Talkington FFA. Thank you so much.
When you're getting involved or getting invited to the tasting.
Congratulations, young ladies. It's a testament to the great work that's going on at Talkington, number one, and just the talent that we have in our faculty and in our district. So thank you for being here so early this morning. We appreciate that. All right, an executive closed session will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, and it is 7:06 a.m., and we're adjourned to closed session. Everybody here? All right. It is 7:26 a.m. and we are reconvened from executive closed session. Do we have any actions following the closed session? Trustee Lawson?
I move that we hire Cesar de Leon as the Executive Director of Fine Arts.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All right. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving our new Fine Arts Director, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Good morning, Board of Trustees, President Bridges, and Superintendent Roller. It is an immense honor to stand before you today. I'm truly filled with excitement and gratitude. I really am excited. Everybody here, I really am. Promise you. As I reflect on this moment, I am reminded of a profound truth. The greener grass we often seek is right under our feet. The potential for greatness, creativity, and transformation is already within our reach. Right here, within our schools and within our students. I'm fully aware of the path ahead and will require hard work, dedication, and a collaboration spirit. However, I embrace this challenge with enthusiasm and resolve. This journey of learning, growing, and adapting is one that I'm eager to embark on with all of you. Together, we can cultivate a vibrant and dynamic fine arts program that supports every student in exploring their creative potential and expressing their unique voice. My mission is clear: to support all students by providing them with opportunities that ignite their passions and elevate their talents. I'm committed to working tirelessly to ensure that our fine arts programs are not only inclusive and accessible, but also exemplary in fostering artistic excellence. This role is not just overseeing programs, I promise you that. It's about being a champion for all teachers and for every student who walks through our doors. It's about creating environments where creativity flourishes and where every child feels safe, valued, and inspired to reach their full potential. Once again, thank you for this incredible opportunity. Thank you.
Well, welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. I'll open the floor for trustee comments.
Well,
Say
say if your actions are anywhere near what your words just were, I think you're going to do just fine. You know, we knew there were some big shoes to fill, and when we started talking about this with Dr. Rollo, we were very comforted to know that it looks like those shoes are going to be filled. So we welcome you. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's going to be a great team. It's a lot of excitement, and I'm very excited. So it's a great start.
I'd also like to echo that too, and I saw and heard about you and your many accomplishments and what you're planning on doing.
Correct.
Your aspirations.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, Trustee Lawson.
Yeah, there's Dr. Rollo.
We are just extremely excited to have Cesar here. I don't think anyone is more excited than Misty Reber, as she has been filling those shoes since the position was vacated. But he brings a wealth of experience, both with fine arts, but also as a bilingual teacher and a campus administrator. And we believe the experience he brings to the table is going to help us continue moving our fine arts program, which we know is so very important to our community and to Lubbock ISD, to take that to the next level. So we're thrilled to have you here. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I believe it's second to none, actually. So I
Well
think-
said, President
Yes,
Bridges.
it's going to be even better. So thank you. Welcome. And we'll take a short break so we can have some photos, and then we will reconvene in just a moment. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
That's great.
What was that? What he's doing today?
There'll be the media luncheon.
Was that
The game.
trustee comments? Or just for his hiring?
I thought that was all for all of it. You okay? Or did you want to say something else? Before we move on to the next item, I'm going to open the floor back up for trustee comments. I think Trustee Curry would like to say a few words for just a moment.
Yeah, one, congratulations to our FFA ladies who were here. I think Talkington was one of the last programs to get FFA, so I think that's super cool, especially to have two young ladies doing some really great stuff. Congratulations, Caesar. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't give appreciation to Dr. Rollo, to central office, to our schools, to our teachers, to our families. What happened this week was an annoyance, a very costly annoyance, although you have to take all of those as if they're real and they're happening. And so just want to appreciate everyone's efforts and to diffuse the situation. And you know, I guess if you're looking for a bright side, we got to practice some of our processes and procedures. And I want to commend the team because it sounded like a lot of things went right to be able to have that in place. God forbid something does happen. And to the idiots that are doing this, I pray that they will find something else to do or maybe move out of their mother's basement.
Any others? All right, thank you. The next order of business is citizen comments. Before we begin, I would like to review the provisions of board policy governing the procedures for public participation as reflected in BED local. The audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on the matters being considered by the board. I will remind members of the board that the citizen comments section of our board meeting is for the purpose of listening to patrons, but we are not allowed to comment or debate on issues that are not posted. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes, and a timer will go off at the completion of 3 minutes. I would ask that you conclude your comments within the time limit allowed. And as I call your name, if you would come up to the podium and state your name for the record. I'd like to invite Rosalind Priestley to the podium. Ms. Priestley, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Rosalind Priestley. Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. Oh, I don't like this. Okay. Yeah. The reason I am here on behalf of myself mainly, but I do have a question. I'm wondering when and if a new elementary school will be built in East Lubbock. From what I've already did on my own, and this number is so staggering. 1959 is when Alderson was built in East Lubbock. Well, we all know that Posey, El Isles, Bozeman, Hunt, Parkway, Wheatley, they no longer exist. So we got one elementary, no middle school, and one high school. So my question is, if this sign represents Lubbock, then I feel as though East Lubbock should consider the kids in East Lubbock. I'm sure they would love to walk into a new school, not a refurbished, redecorated new. Ground, ribbon cutting, ceremony, all that. I feel like our kids deserve that. So that's why I'm here today. I just want to express that because to me, 1959 is even older than I am. And so it's just heartfelt here. So I just wish that we can consider turning around, going back, and making something better. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rollo, would you have someone follow up with her, please, on some of those? Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ms. Priestley. Appreciate your time coming today. Okay, we will move into item 7, our consent agenda. We consider board approval of the minutes for the workshop meeting held August 8th, 2024, and the regular meeting held August 22nd, 2024. Do we have any corrections to the minutes from the August meetings of the board as printed and distributed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as printed. Thank you. All right, now we move into the business portion of the meeting. Do we have any members of the public who would like to address the board regarding any of the posted board agenda items?
Financials.
Okay, sorry, my script is, yeah. Sorry, is that right? Yeah. I'm sorry, give me just one moment. My information is not the same.
I think we just left the financial.
Leave the financials out.
You just need to.
Back up. Let's move to financials. Apologize for that confusion. Let's back up and do that. So we will look to approval of the budget summary report for the month ending July 31st, 2024. Budget amendments and budget transfers for the month of July 2024. Statement of taxes collected for the month ending July 31st, 2024. And the investment report for the period of July 1st through July 31st, 2024. Wayne.
Good morning, President Bridges, Board of Trustees, Dr. Rollo. So moving into the financials, this is through July 31st, so there's not a whole lot of movement. As you can see on the budget summary. Moving on to the debt services, we have not rolled over as of July 31st the debt services, so there's nothing showing there. We're waiting for the audit to be completed to roll that over. So that'll be there next time you see it. Food service, the only thing I'd show you is right in the middle there, there's a $78,000. That's a tables that were purchased for Parsons and Dunbar. So capital projects, same thing. We're waiting for the audit to complete, and we'll roll that over, and you'll see that next time. I'll draw your attention on the budget summary for special revenue funds to ESSER 3. You can see that there is a negative $168,000. Basically, what we did is we drew down all the ESSER 3 money, and we were over $168,000, so that'll roll back to $199. So we've got that covered. We wanted to make sure we drew down all the ESSER 3 money. The budget amendments are all our reappropriations from last year, money that has actually already been spent, but we're rolling it over to this year for the items being collected. We've got Head Start starting out, and then the last two items that we have are tax collections, which we do not have any tax collections in July. It would be nice if everybody would, but unfortunately we don't. And then last we have our investment portfolio, which we're still holding strong at around 6%, which is great. So if you have any questions, I'll answer questions.
Trustees, questions, comments? All right. Do I have approval, or a motion, I'm sorry, to approve the budget summary report for the month ending July 31st, 2024, and all subsequent reports?
So moved.
Second.
Right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for allowing us to reorder those things. Now, we will move into academic action items. Approval of Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, with the Education Service Center Region 17 for the Texas Lesson Study Program.
Yes, so this is to support the implementation of Eureka Mathematics in our elementary schools. And the Region Service Center would work as like a technical assistance provider in helping us provide high quality feedback around the implementation of Eureka. And Misty knows more about this, so I'll be happy to defer to her if you guys have any specific questions around the project.
Is this the first year we're doing this, or is this a continuation?
This is the first year that we've had this
Okay.
contract, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
so we'll have
ma'am.
additional support that we're bringing to this
Yes,
curriculum.
they're
Okay.
providing support to the district level coaches to then go out and support the teachers.
Okay. Questions, comments? All right. Do we have a motion for approval of the MOU with the Education Service Center Region 17 for the Texas Lesson Study Program?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, consider approval of the local policy revisions included in the Texas Association of School Boards Update 123. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so we have talked about this at 2 previous meetings. We've had a first reading of these policy changes and a second reading, and I want to thank Ms. D, our Chief Academic Officer, for taking us through those revisions that will take place in policy, and she will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Trustees, I believe we've had this for a while to review and read through, strike-throughs, comparisons, all types of things, explanations. So, Misty, is there anything you'd like to say before we get
I feel like y'all have looked at it so many times between full board and committee workshop. I really appreciate your feedback as we've navigated some local policy to try to make it work for us and try to make it work to fit within the letter of the law. So thank you for your support around that.
Questions, comments, trustees? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the local policy revisions included in TASB Update 123 as presented?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. All right, approval of the Head Start Corrective Action Plan related to the FA2 audit findings.
Yes, so as you are very well aware, we have gone through a Head Start audit, and as a result, we do have a corrective action plan, and that was in the board extras for you to review. The corrective action is really around two things, fidelity of implementation of the Frog Street curriculum, and then toothbrushing practices were the two main focuses for the corrective action plan. And those are already well on their way, and we had a follow-up audit this last week that went very well.
Okay. Excellent. Any questions? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the Head Start Corrective Action Plan related to the FA2 audit findings?
So move.
Second, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. All right, we'll move into administrative action items. Approval of the MOU for law enforcement services by and between the City of Lubbock and the Lubbock Independent School District. Dr. Willow.
This is a standard MOU that you have approved before. It just is changing the names with a new police chief, is basically the main adjustment to this new MOU.
Okay.
And we're grateful to Chief Mendoza for all of the things Ryan talked about. He was on point, and then grateful to him for working very closely with LPD on all things.
I think this week demonstrated how important it is to have that good relationship, of course, with all of our agencies, but especially those quick responders, getting our bomb sniffing dogs and all those resources quickly to the campus. So thank you, Shane, and to Ray. Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the MOU for law enforcement services by and between the City of Lubbock and Lubbock ISD?
So moved.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, approval of resolution nominating the Lubbock Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. Dr. Rollo.
Yes, so as you guys are aware, we do have the ability to nominate, and then at a later date, we will vote for people who represent our district on the Lubbock Central Appraisal District Board of Directors. And so this recommendation is that we approve the resolution nominating Sonny Garza, Brady Gowen, Greg Jones, Bobby McQueen, and Noe Reynolds to the Lubbock Central Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Questions? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution nominating Sonny Garza, Brady Gowen, Greg Jones, Bobby McQueen, and Noe Reynolds to the Lubbock Central Appraisal District Board of Directors?
So moved.
A motion? Second. I have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, approval of the resolution adopting a tax rate for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Dr. Wilkins.
All right, good morning. Let's see if I can explain this so everybody can understand this in this convoluted mess of a tax rate. So we have, we're going to approve a tax rate of 0.9083 this year is what we're proposing. That's 0.733 of M&O and 0.175 of INS. We have what's called a no new revenue tax rate. And basically what that is the state calculates for us a tax rate that says if our appraisals didn't go up, this would be what we would need to generate the same amount of M&O revenue for this year as we did last year. So with that, they take that and they take our new tax rate, which the state gives us, by the way, and we get the percentage. That's a 0.57% increase. Okay, as you know, we do not control appraisal values. With that 0.57% increase, we are having a reduction of negative $14 in taxes. So we have to say that we're increasing taxes when it's a negative $14 decrease. due to being more than the no new revenue tax rate.
Required state language. correct?
Required state language. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, trustees, comments, questions?
I'll just make my annual complaint. For those, for the three people that may be listening, we are required by law to state that we are going above the no new revenue tax rate. However, we're also required by law, if we want to get the same amount of money from the state, to adopt the rate that Dwayne has just given us of the increase. If we choose the no new revenue, we will lose money. We are not like other government entities where we set a higher rate and we get the money, or we set a lower rate and we don't get the money. That's not how this works. And so to our legislator friends, again, we need help fixing our school finance system. As a citizen and a taxpayer, I am very appreciative of the tax compression over the years, and the fact that the rates have gone down over the last, I guess now this would be the fifth year, is because of our state, and that's very much appreciative. But it does have a detrimental effect on our public schools, and we are seeing that as evidence with all the deficit budgets. And so please understand, citizens, we are not trying to raise taxes. We are trying to make sure we get 100% of what the state will give us.
Okay, any other comments? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of .9083, which is effectively a 0.57% increase in the tax rate?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0, which is still a decrease to your taxes. All right, moving on to procurement and contracts. Approval of district purchases. Mr. Rodriguez.
Good morning, President Bridges. Good morning, Board of Trustees. Great to see you all this morning. We have two items for your consideration this morning. The first item is approval for a curriculum that's provided to us via a grant, an online learning grant that's provided to us by TEA. This enhances the U.S. and Texas history instruction at the 7th and 8th grade levels, as well as the 11th grade levels. Again, I'd reiterate, this is grant money, so it's not general fund money that we're using to pay for that extra enhancement of curriculum. The second one is an aquatics scoreboard, and so we're excited to let you know we're putting this item on here for approval. At the time of posting, we had not received the donation that you see referenced here. It was received early this week, and so it was past the posting. So in October, we will come back and officially bring you the donation. As you can see, the amount is for the full amount that you see there. And so while it does look like we're using 199 funds, those funds are going to be donated. So we will not be expending general funds for this scoreboard in its entirety. So we'll be bringing you that item in October at our October board meeting. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Huge donation.
That's huge. That's wonderful.
It's a huge donation.
We're extremely
excited
grateful.
to do that.
Yes.
Question on the, Dr. Rollo, this may be better for you, but on the grant, is iStation the requirement? Were they the only one who bid? And is that the best resource, given us looking through all of our various resources?
It is a requirement of the grant. That's what was provided.
Okay.
And it's a supplemental resource that would not be the main source of instruction, but would be additional support to help in those tested grades that would provide some practice around STAR. And it's a limited time frame of grant to use the program and then evaluate the effectiveness.
Right. Any other questions, comments? All right, do I have a collective motion to approve the district purchases as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, thank you. The motion is second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Approval of construction job order, contracting delivery method, and delegation of authority. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, President Bridges. So a standard item that we bring to you on occasion for delivery method for construction projects. And so this is an item that allows you all to delegate a portion of your authority to Dr. Rollo for choosing criteria, relative weights, ranking, selection, or evaluation of bids, proposal qualifications for procuring construction services. This particular project that we're looking at is HVAC replacement for the 3 schools that you see listed there, McWhorter, Roberts, and Waters Elementary. Be happy to answer any questions.
Is that full, like all HVAC replacement, or just some units that are older?
It would be full.
And is this bond related at all, or is this?
Yes,
maintenance?
yes.
Okay.
You'll see some items here in just a minute.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. Do I have a collective motion to approve? I'm sorry. No. Do I have a motion to approve delegating authority to the superintendent for choosing criteria, relative weights, ranking, selecting, and evaluation of proposals, and approval of the use of construction job order contracting delivery method for the projects presented?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. All right, district construction purchases, excuse me. Rick.
Thank you, President Bridges. Forgive me, I failed to mention that both of these, the previous item and these items, were brought to our Facilities Committee meeting. For those of you that were there, if you recall, we brought these forward to you to make you aware that we were bringing these to you today. And so the first item on the construction purchases is district-wide door hardware. This is a not-to-exceeds number that we will use for grant. These are grant funds that we'll use to fix our doors, whether it's the push bars, whether it's the door connects, those kinds of things. These are all standard items. Keeping in mind the significant focus that's been put on doors as a result of Uvalde. And so lots of interest in making sure that our doors, and we have facilities that are aging, and so making sure that we have the ability to pass what the bond has been able to do to make sure our doors are working properly. So this allows us to do that. As you can see, we're using the School Safety Standards Grant as well as the Safe Cycle 2 grant to help us pay for getting all those doors. We have a process in place. You'll hear about that actually here in just a few minutes in our workshop portion. And then the second item is the actual professional fees, the design, what we lovingly call A&E fees for the HVAC project, and you see there that we are using bond funds to pay for those, for that project.
Okay. Thank you. Questions? Comments? All right. Do I have a collective motion to approve the district construction purchases as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. All right, we will move into the workshop portion of our meeting. It's 7:55. Woohoo!
And President Bridges, while we're transitioning to the workshop portion of our meeting, I shared with you earlier that we do not have a need for a second executive session, but I forgot that we actually do.
Okay.
So I wanted to be sure I didn't get your hopes up too much that we're going to finish
Okay,
early.
and
but-
we'll do that after workshop.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Okay, we'll let transition happen, and our first one will be a school safety and security and Lubbock ISD Emergency Operations Plan update. Mr. Shane Anderson, Director of School Safety and Security. Welcome.
Okay, Board of Trustees, I appreciate you guys having me today to cover some safety components that we have at Lubbock ISD. I'm going to be honest with you, I put this presentation together before we had the last few days, but we're going to cover some of those things in this presentation anyway. So I want to remind you, I'll be at the closed session when this is over. So if you have any specific questions about specific schools or any specific ways we do things, I like to keep some of that kind of under wraps. We don't need to let everybody know every single aspect of what we do. It's just for safety reasons with that. So with that in mind, I want you to kind of look at this presentation in two different ways. For safety, the first thing we have to have is the hardening of schools. And just kind of like the door project you guys just approved a second ago, we've got to make sure our doors are functioning, all those good things. But there's a lot of technology to help us out with these things as well. So I'm going to cover some of the technology that we have here at Lubbock ISD. But safety is also teaching as well, making sure we're doing the right things. Are we practicing drills? Are we talking about safety with our students? Are the teachers teaching different things to our students with safety? And also, me teaching teachers, teaching admin, so that basically we are practicing the best methods of keeping our students safe. So let's start off with the first thing. As you can tell, I always have it on. We have these ID badges, okay? Every staff member, every teacher will wear a badge every day. Even the third-party contractors that we hire out, the third-party, from Aramark to Sodexo to Durham, they wear badges. On the screen you see, we have an example of what a student badge would look like. We have the mascot at the top, the grade level, we have a barcode on the side. You can use those things to scan in for lunches, things like that, and the first and last name at the bottom. So basically what I'm trying to get at is anybody that's supposed to be in a school is going to have on a badge, whether it's a worker, whether it's a student, just so that we make sure that everybody that's supposed to be there is there.
Can I stop you?
Of course.
Are we still wearing those with Fidelity? What kind of checkups do we have? 'Cause
Okay. Naturally, admin are supposed to be checking to make sure people are wearing their badges. Teachers will check to make sure that they have their badges and everything. Right now, the schools are just now getting the badges out to the students and everything. It takes a while to take a picture of every student, then get it on the badge, print the badges, put it on the lanyard, pass it out to the students. So we're getting it on there. I'll be honest with you, is there times where that might get lax from time to time? Of course there is. So that's something that we need to continue to work on to make sure that all students are wearing their badges. Yes, sir.
One other question. If someone misplaces one of those, is that an easy process just to deactivate that particular badge?
Yes. Basically, for staff and everything, they can send us an email and we'll get it to the right person to deactivate it. If a student loses their badges, they can go back to the main office and they'll print them out another one.
But someone who would have access to the outside of a building if
Yes,
it's lost outside of a building.
And naturally, if somebody loses their badge, we immediately get rid of the access so that they could not use the badge to get back in the building. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And to clarify, Mr. Weddick, we have the ability to stop it, like to shut it off, because I think I left it at home, but I'm not 100% sure. I may have lost it. So we can just turn off the access instead of deleting it.
Gotcha.
Once we've identified for sure it's gone, then we delete the access and create a new badge.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
we try to make it so that employees aren't scared to say, well, I can't find my badge. It's okay. Just tell us. We'll lock off the access.
And naturally, that happens. It's lost for an hour or two, and then it's found again.
Right.
So.
And with this technology, you're not having to rekey an entire building.
Oh no, nothing like that. Nothing like that.
And the cost of those badges are?
The student badges cost less than $1, and that's lanyard, that's badge, the whole deal. Yes, I believe the last number I checked on it was around 87 cents. Okay. So, any more questions about badges? Okay. Sorry. You're good. Okay. So naturally, we're going to have people that come into the school that aren't students, that aren't teachers, that aren't faculty. We could have a parent visiting to meet with the counselor. We could have a contractor that needs to fix something with inside the building. So if you guys have noticed, we have all our outside doors numbered. Door number 1 is a door everybody's supposed to go in through. That will lead you into the secure vestibule. The secure vestibules are built throughout every single school. It's a newer project. So basically, when you enter a school building, you don't have access to all the classrooms. You don't have access to the hallways. You know, the first room you actually go into will be, in most schools, a square room would be a square room where you can basically state your purpose while you're there. But even before that, when you get to door number 1, we have an intercom system where somebody will push the button. Somebody in the front office will say, greet them, how are you doing? What can we help you with today? I need to pick up little Johnny to go to the dentist. Okay, they'll buzz them in at that point. So you can't just walk up to door number 1 and get into our building. So we have the intercom system first. And then inside the secure vestibule, we have our what we call our school safe ID. And that's where the parent will put their student's name in. That name will then go to the secretaries in the main office, and they can then send for that kiddo. The secretaries will then check to make sure that mom is the correct person to pick up the kiddo, make sure they're on the list so we don't give kids to the wrong parents and all those sort of things. And if the student needs to leave, they can leave at that point. Now, we also know that parents have meetings inside the buildings. They're going to need to go in. They're going to have to talk to a counselor or a teacher or something like that. This is also the point in the secure vestibule where we will print off temporary badges. So what I'm trying to say is anybody that's in the building is going to have on a badge like me, the student badge you saw earlier, or this temporary badge that's going to print right there. So if the principal sees anybody without a badge, if a teacher sees anybody without a badge, they can stop that person or call the SRO to stop that person and figure out why they are in the building, as we want to make sure the only people in the building are the people that are supposed to be there. Okay, let's say somebody does get in that's not supposed to be there. Okay, let's think worst case scenario real quick. They're there to do harm. Okay, I'm not going to tell you where they're all at, but we do have different lockdown buttons throughout the buildings where you can push it real quickly, and it can push the button and it will send the whole school into a lockdown. Just a real quick definition of a lockdown. A lockdown is, we use the saying, locks, lights, out of sight. All inside classroom doors should already be locked, but teachers will double check, make sure they're locked. They'll turn off their lights. They'll send the students to the far side of the room away from the door and stay quiet till the threat is neutralized at that point in time. So we have these buttons, and there's other ways we can get into lockdowns as well, and I'll touch on that in a minute. A new project that we're starting. You know, if you think back to Uvalde a little bit, that school shooter did not come in through their door number one. They didn't try to use the main entrance. You know, they found the first open door that they could find. So that's what's very important, that our doors are working, that our hardware is working. But we wanted to take it a step further. I want to make sure doors aren't being propped open. I want to make sure doors are latching all the way. So we're putting on exterior doors, and a lot of them are starting to get this feature on them right now. It's called a door contact. And what a door contact does, if a door stays open for too long, and I get to set the time of how long I believe is too long, maybe we start with 10 or 12 seconds. If that door stays open for 10 seconds, then it's going to start making this beeping sound. Think about your refrigerator when you leave it open too long. You don't put your seatbelt on in your car. That's annoying. So you put your seatbelt on to get rid of that annoying sound. That's exactly what this door contact is going to do for you. It's going to make a beep till somebody shuts down the door. Now the door contact goes an extra mile. It goes an extra step with it. It will even send a text message to the school SRO and the school admin so they can go shut the door or send somebody to go shut the door. So we're very serious that we want our doors working and we want them shut so nobody can get in when they're not supposed to. Okay? Naturally, we need the ability to see what's going on our campuses. We have lots of cameras on every single campus. They are newer cameras. They have great pixelation and all those sort of things. You can even see the picture on the left right there is a far view. Then on the right, I zoomed it in. You can see that that's an AED machine. You can see it on the wall very clearly from way on the other side of the hallway. On the right-hand side, you can see a calendar. If you need to look up an event from last week, you can look that up. At the bottom, you see a timestamp. If I need to find an event that happened exactly at 9:36 a.m., I can go straight to it. Basically, our SROs and our assistant principals and principals have access to these cameras so that they can solve different things, solve different events that are happening on the campus. On the left-hand side, you can see the number of cameras as they can switch between cameras.
On Monday and Tuesday, we had the cameras at our schools up here on the screens so that we could monitor.
Yeah, just a little bit about that situation on the evacuate that happened at 2 of our high schools this last week. When those events happen, Dr. Rollo, myself, Misty Reber, Rick Rodriguez, we come and actually sit in the seats y'all are sitting in right now, and we're watching the cameras. We're seeing what's going on. We're getting on the phone, calling people. Is lunch going to be ready at this school? Since the cafeteria ladies had to leave the cafeteria, how are we going to get them lunch? Kiddos have been outside for a little bit. How are we going to get them water? Where is the drug-sniffing dog? How quickly can we get them there? And then try to communicate back with the campuses a little bit how long things are taking. Luckily, we have a great central office staff as well that went over to these campuses to help out in this situation, help calm kids down, help check kiddos out back to the parents if parents came to pick them up and things like that. So I don't want to go into every particular of everything we did, but I do want to say that this team did a great job in here, and the team out in the field did a great job as well, and the teachers and students did a great job those last 2 days as well with it. So, next point, the alarm system. Naturally, you'd be surprised, there's people at our schools all the time. Usually the last people to leave is Sodexo that are cleaning the building, so when they leave, they will turn on the alarm. When the first person gets to the school building, it might be another Sodexo worker, it could be a cafeteria worker getting breakfast ready. They will disarm the alarm. We need to make sure people aren't entering our building during off hours as well. And just to let you know, I'm also in charge of the nighttime security that drives around and checks our buildings. And if one of these alarms go off at night, they go to that building, figure out why did that alarm go off. Okay, maybe it was a team getting back late at night or something like that, or possibly a teacher in the building or something. So one of the things, we need to make sure our schools are secure even when students are not there. Okay, so everything I went over with so far is kind of our hardening process, making sure our buildings are good to go, making sure that people that don't need to get in can't get in. Now we're going to look at kind of the teaching aspect of it. And another badge that we make for the students, we call this our SRP badge. And what SRP stands for is our Standard Response Protocol. These are 5 different actions that students learn starting in pre-K of what they will do during when certain emergency things could happen. And these are the drills that we practice. So I'm going to go over these 5 actions real quick. The first one is a secure. That means there's a threat outside the building. It could be a dog that's biting people. It could be a person with a weapon that could do harm. What a secure means is nobody is going to come in and out of the building until this threat is dealt with at that point in time. Okay, so that's a secure. A lockdown we talked about earlier. A lockdown, the saying we use, locks lights out of sight. You know, we want people to be able to react very quickly, because in an emergency situation, your hands are going to start doing this. You're going to, it's harder to think in an emergency situation. So we try to have actions where you can think of what to do quickly. Locks, lights, out of sight. For a lockdown, get into your locked room, turn out the lights, get away from the door. And evacuate, there's 2 different ways to evacuate. We practiced that this last week with the bomb threat. Okay, if there's a bomb or any other thing inside the building that could cause harm, naturally we want to get our kiddos out of the building. We want to get them away from the building. Naturally, there's areas where the staff will take the students and wait for whatever threats inside the building to be neutralized at that time. And evacuate is also your standard fire drill that we've all done since we were kids and everything. You know, practicing what is the fastest way out of the building? What's the quickest way to get everybody out of the building as fast as we can in the most effective way? So that's an evacuate. A hold. That means there's something going on in the hallway, and we just don't need a lot of kids passing what's going on. Let's pretend somebody's having a seizure in the hallway. Okay, we don't want to do a passing period at this time and have 1,000 students pass somebody that's having a seizure. So we would put the building on a hold, leave everybody in their classroom till we have this student helped or get them to the nurse's office or an ambulance or wherever we need to get them to, and then we can basically have our passing period at that time. And then the last one is a shelter. Luckily for us, we don't have to practice hurricane shelters or anything like that here, but the main one we do have is our tornado. All right, now with the shelter, let me kind of look at these maps. Right now, another project we're doing is we're in the process of putting new maps in every single classroom and common area in Lubbock ISD. I'm working with the company, we're walking every single campus, every single classroom to determine where are the best areas to put these maps. If you look on the left, the green map, that is our severe weather map. That shows you the safe areas to take your classes if we were about to have a tornado. So again, teachers could see this and they know to go to the blue areas on this map. What I like about the maps the most is, remember, we have a lot of subs that sub for us during the day, and they work at a lot of different campuses. So if they show up to a campus they've never worked at before, they can just grab this map and take their kiddos to the blue areas just to make sure we're all safe. We also have the fire evacuation map. Naturally, different classrooms might go out different doors. So you have the blue lines to show them which way to go. You have the dotted blue line. If you can't go out the first blue line, the dotted blue line means that's the second best pathway you can go. So again, these maps are, the subs can grab them easily, take them out, teachers can grab them easily. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Again, in an emergency situation, sometimes it's hard to think and react. These maps will help do the thinking for the people.
I do want to add that we have maps currently in the classrooms, but these maps have been made by the principals. with support from us, but they're not consistent across the district. So this will provide some consistency and also make it easier for substitute teachers who travel to different campuses to know exactly what they're looking for. And this is grant funded.
Yes, all grant funded. And a good thing, the company we use, naturally, they are experts in these maps, experts on fire safety and what is the best ways. And as I walk the campuses with them, we'll talk about those sort of things. Where would be the best place to send students during a tornado and all that good stuff. So,
when subs come into the schools, are they trained or briefed on these various protocols and kind of what's expected of them?
When they're hired, they go through a training process, and there is a safety component to it all. And the teachers, when they have a sub, they have a sub binder, and in the sub binder, there'll be directions on what to do during the safety emergencies. And luckily, for most of these things, we have an intercom system that tells you exactly, fire in the building, leave the building immediately. So, you know, it's the directions are there, and plus there's walkie-talkies in every room to get the information out as well. So we try to have 3 or 4 different ways to make sure communication is happening. Okay, also after Uvalde, the state of Texas is checking up on schools more. They want to make sure that the doors are locked. So we have intruder assessments. Every school will have an auditor come by at some point this year in the whole state of Texas and check. This auditor will see if they can get in the building. Okay, but they want to see if there's open doors, prop doors. They want to see if there's broke doors. Okay, they're going to check some doors, and they're going to go around to the main office and talk to the principal. Hey, I was not able to get into your building. Your staff has done a great job. Or they're going to tell the principal, I was able to gain access to your building through door number 4 right here. Then they'll note it and everything. Then I will come in and do a training with the staff and everything and talk about why we need to make sure all the doors are closed, locked, and all that good stuff.
And we had our first one during a bomb threat this
Yes.
week.
So while we were sitting in here, one of the schools, they passed. So that was good. They passed and everything. So again, the first one, I'll be honest, they usually do about 2 to 3 a week. They might take a week or 2 off here and there. So usually when they hit one, they'll usually hit another campus. With that as well, the state of Texas is also doing 4-year audits to every school district as well. And we were the first ones to do the audit. And we'll talk more about the audit in closed session and everything, as I can get into more details there. But basically, a lot of different things. I sat with them for 3 or 4 hours before we even went out to campuses talking about our protocols and things like that. But, you know, I can talk about the SRP drills that we have on here all day long. The auditors actually go out and ask teachers what they know about the SRP drills. They ask the ladies in the front office what they know about emergency situations. So I just can't dog and pony show it for the auditor. They actually go out and make sure that we're practicing these things. So
I know you can't get into specifics, but for the general public, could you give an overall take of that audit experience, or their
I'll say this. They said Lubbock ISD is doing a great job. They said we are one of the best schools that they've been to. So I was very happy and proud to hear that from them. So again, we have these
I'll
audits.
just add one other thing, because I was in the exit interview with Shane, that even, and he'll, as he said, he'll discuss the specifics of the audits, but there were not anything in the findings that we weren't already aware of. So all things that we're working on already. So no surprises, and we didn't expect to be perfect because of our facilities and stuff like that, but I will tell you that we were very pleased with the results.
And that's why it's important that, you know, you guys approved extra money for door hardware and things like that. Well, I take that audit report and we go fix those doors with that money so we don't get hit on the next audit. So it's one of the things, we're fixing the things that are breaking. So another thing with that, I also have a full-time guy that checks doors for me. He goes around school to school every single day of the week. He makes his lap around. He gets a lot of steps in. And checks one school at a time. He fills out a report that we have, and I'm going to show you this report in a second. So if door number 5 at a certain school is not working, I can get that ticket out to Sodexo immediately to get that door fixed. Because we don't want to wait to fix things like that. You know, it needs to be done ASAP. So those are the checks by the state. The state also requires that we have certain trainings with students. Okay, this next week we have what's called Start with Hello Week. These trainings can be opted in or opted out by parents. So students can or cannot participate in them based on how the parent chooses. This is a very easy, I shouldn't say easy, but a very simple to understand training. It's basically be nice to the people around you. Okay, start with hello. If you see somebody eating lunch by themselves, go up to them, say hello, start a conversation. So start with Hello Week again. All the materials can be found on our safety website if you want to see the videos and what the lessons look like. In February, we have what we call Say Something Week, and I'm very big into this one. We have a saying called, if you see something, say something. So if you hear one of your friends saying, I'm thinking about committing suicide tonight, or one of your friends say, I'm going to bring a gun to school tomorrow, that's not information you need to hold on to. That's information you need to share with something. So you see something, you hear something, you say something. To help students out with this, we have different software programs, different apps that students get on, and students have been trained how to use these the first week of school. The first one is called the Stop It app. Students don't like to tell on each other. You know, they don't like to be tattletales and things like that. So what the Stop It app is, it allows a student to report anything. They can report bullying, they can report weapons, they can report drugs, and it's anonymously. So we don't actually know who does the reporting. This report, once they submit it, will go to the campus administration and also to me. It also goes to Chief Mendoza, and then we can basically assess each incident and work through each one of them as we need to. The second one we have a software program called Lightspeed. If students search for something inappropriately on their Chromebook, or if they type something inappropriately in a Google Doc or something like that, Lightspeed lets us know about it. And then the campus and admin will handle those situations as they pop up as well. So again, we have safety measures in place to make sure that we're keeping our students safe. Now, with this, it's not enough just to know about it if a student is trying to commit suicide, or if a student is asking or talking about threatening actions. We actually have documentation called threat and or suicide assessments. And basically, the counselors do the suicide assessments, the assistant principals and principals will do the threat assessments. And what that basically does, it's a set of questions that we can ask the student, and we also get the parents involved as well. You know, if a student says they're going to bring a gun to school, we need to talk to the parents and see, do they have access to guns? Is there a gun in the home? What are you seeing at home, Mom? Things like that. So again, big set of questions just so that we can get to the bottom of everything and do a very thorough investigation. It's also important, if this student moves to another school district, that this threat and or suicide assessment goes with them. So starting later this year, the state of Texas has put in a new website where every school district has to put in their suicide and threat assessments. So if little Johnny moves from one school district to another, that threat assessment will follow them. So when we get new students, we'll actually have data on things that they've possibly done or said in the past. So very important. Eagle Eye, this is our software system that principals and my full-time door walker use. You can see on the right-hand side, it has all the doors on it. He has 2 or 3 choices on it. He could put mechanical issue. Then he could tell me the hinge is breaking on the door. He could put behavioral issue. Teacher A propped the door open and left it, so that we know where the problem is, what time it's happening, and how we can fix it. Then he shares it with the principal and with us, and we try to work through each problem. So that one's called Eagle Eye. We're also in charge of the intercom system that makes the bells. I told you earlier that we have different ways of starting lockdowns on campus. I showed you the buttons earlier that are in different places on the campus. Principals can also start a lockdown on their phones in their office, where they can push a button on the intercom system. It'll come on, locks lights, out of sight, there's a threat in the building. Fire in the building, please evacuate immediately, telling everybody exactly what to do. So that system's called Telecenter U. The main one that we use, I'm just going to show it to you right now to show you how quickly it is. It's called Crisis Go. I would open my phone, put in my code, find my red app, click on it, click lockdown. All I have to do is swipe real quick, and I could put any school in a lockdown right then. That took me, 5 seconds to open that up? So very quick system. And so that we can act immediately. So we have the lockdown buttons, we have the Telecenter U, our announcement system, and we have the Crisis Go system to get us into any emergency operation, so we can get to any of our SRP emergency situations as quickly as we can.
And all staff is trained on Crisis Go.
Oh,
Everybody
definitely.
has access
Mhm.
to it, so anybody can enact any of the protocols.
Yes, any teacher can start a lockdown, any teacher can start a fire evacuation. They watch a compliance course on it over the summertime to know how to do it. I train the principals, and the principals also go back and do a training with the new staff and teachers to begin the year. And then I make a video for the students to watch to know what to do during these situations as well. So there's a lot of training that goes on to make sure that we're actually doing what we're supposed to do. Also, in every classroom, we have Stop the Bleed kits. If somebody has a severe wound that they could possibly bleed out, we have gauze, we have tourniquets in these bags, so we can stuff it. We can wrap it up to basically make sure, give the ambulance, give the people more time to get there. This is also a state training. There's a video they watch, and they actually practice it. Local EMS teams come by, and we practice stuffing some of the different dummies and things like that. So Stop the Bleed kits. This is just an example. We go through tabletop scenarios with all sorts of different people, front office staff, teachers, students. I'll come up with ones like this. It's this time, this is happening. What should the next steps be? And then we'll get in groups real quick, talk about it, then we'll share out just like a lesson and things like that. So I think it's important to practice. You know, if you practice these situations, you'll have more an idea what to do when they actually happen.
I think key in that, I'll just add, I'm sorry, Shane, I think key to that in those tabletop scenarios is typically there's not a right or wrong answer. It's just getting your mind in the process. If this were to happen and I'm in my third period, what are my options, right? Or I'm in my fifth period because I have 5 kids versus 30 kids, right? So what are my options given each of the different scenarios that he takes them through? So I think it's important to know for our staff, it's not necessarily about having the right or wrong answer, but it's about getting my mind in the thought when that alert goes off, what's my first thing, what am I going to do, and getting your mind trained to go in that direction.
So with that, every year I have to do, the state requires a document called the Emergency Operations Plan, and basically you update it year to year. It's a 200-something page document of everything I just covered with you guys, and probably even a little bit more information. The state is really on it to make sure that school districts have a plan for things, that we're not just going about our day and not planning for safety things that are happening. So the Emergency Operations Plan, the purpose of it is to know what to do before an emergency, during an emergency, and what are you going to do after an emergency? You know, how are you going to get the kiddos their food? Do we need extra counselors for crisis to talk to students because of what's going on and things like that? I have to look at a hazard summary list. Like I said earlier, we're very likely to have a tornado. We're not very likely to have a hurricane here. To be honest, we've had a few earthquakes in the area recently, but I don't think they're as important as naturally a tornado. And that's actually what I have to put on the list as well. A tornado is more likely to happen than an earthquake to actually cause serious damage to them. We have an incident command system. Naturally, Dr. Rollo is the one in charge. She makes the final decision and things. That's why we're here in the room. She takes advice from Mr. Rodriguez, Ms. Reber, and myself and everything. When an emergency starts, the principal's in charge because nobody's there yet. As soon as Chief Mendoza gets there, the SROs get there, they will resume being in charge. Naturally, we work with the city a lot in different things, with the fire department, with EMS, with LPD. You know, it was very important that we had a bomb-sniffing dog, that we could get that dog there quickly, because we can't let people into the building until we know the building's safe to return to. So all those sort of things are in this plan. So it's mitigation activities, locking chemical cabinets in the science lab, hardening the facilities, making sure our doors work, prevention activities. This was very important during COVID. You know, make sure your desks are spread so far apart. Make sure we're wiping off desks between classes, things like that. And then preparedness, just making sure we're doing our drills and everything. And so with the response and everything, making sure that we have the resources that we need. Hot day outside on a football field, we might need water. So making sure we have resources. and then the recovery aspect. What are we going to start doing? How are we going to get back to normal? Because that is the main goal after an emergency, is getting back to normal and educating our kiddos. Last thing, the only thing new in the emergency operation plan is the cybersecurity annex. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not an expert in cybersecurity. Damon Jackson helped me write this. He's in charge of technology for the district, just talking about how we're protecting our computers, how we're looking out for spyware and all those sort of things. So there's a new section in with that, as more schools are getting hit from the outsiders trying to take over our systems, because we are very reliant on the internet. We are very reliant on technology. We want to make sure that those systems do not go down. All right, guys. Thank y'all for listening to me today. Again, I will come into a closed session later today to answer any more particular questions, and feel free to ask me as many as you want, and I appreciate y'all for having me here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shane.
Thank you,
Trustees,
Shane.
any
I want to commend
questions?
Shane being new in his role. He has really stepped in and
Thank
done
you.
a fantastic job. So thank you, Shane.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Any questions y'all want to ask now before I go on?
Just a couple of comments, Shane. First of all, I think we can never thank too many times for most of what we've seen as far as hardening facilities is a result of the 2018 bond. So thank you to our community who let us get ahead of the game, because I think it all helps. It helps all of us sleep better at night. So thank you to
I
the
agree
community
100%,
for
yes.
doing that.
Mhm.
The Stop It app, it is not just an app for a phone. It's also on web-based, correct?
Yes, yes.
So if a student doesn't have a phone, they have
Yes, they
other
can.
ways
They
to
can access it through their Chromebook
through
as
their
well.
Chromebook.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
that's why I want
Mhm.
to make sure everybody had access. And then the last thing, I think something that I know we've talked about before, but in West Texas, we do a lot of door holding, which is a great hospitality practice, except at a school. So I hope the public is understanding when people come out of a building and they shut the door and you have to go through the process. That's the reason why, because safety is so important. So anyway, I just wanted to remind us all that sometimes we have to set aside our West Texas hospitality for the safety of kids.
Very good point. Very good point.
Very good point. And with that, we're actually putting some stickers on doors as well that says "Stop the Prop" and things like that, just to
Great.
remind people right before they go outside.
Yeah.
Stop the prop.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Good job.
Shane, I had a couple. This is probably in the weeds too much. Do you have in your EOP your like power outages? Because that's really more likely to happen than some things. How to handle a power outage, which might affect communication systems also.
Yes. Our technology department deals with that aspect. I don't want to get in the weeds too much with it, but yes, there is a plan, and there are people that are looking over different factors of it, and the main part of it is communication.
Okay.
So yes, it's definitely.
So we do have, we do have a very well-oiled machine plan for that. As soon as we're aware that there is a problem, we have the ability to address small scale, large scale, citywide kind of things puts us in a bind. But
For sure.
small situations, a car runs into a pole, takes out a school,
Yeah.
we're going to be able to stand that school
They'll
up
have to
fairly
handle that
quickly.
panic. And then, secondly, then I'll turn it over to colleagues. Weather protocol. I don't know if that's really in the emergency operations plan, but it might be good for our new board members to know, like if we have a snow or ice day.
I'll go over that
happens with
some.
'cause that's
I have about 4 or 5 apps on my phone. One of them even connects with the managers of the city and things like that, and they'll post what they're doing on there. We look at weather reports, and I'm communicating I'm turning into a weatherman with this job too a little bit. I communicate what the weather's supposed to do, because usually we know when these snowstorms are coming. You know, usually we have an idea that they're coming. We give Dr. Rollo as much information as we can. Well, quite a few of us will even drive the streets in the morning and everything, give some more information, and then Dr. Rollo will make the decision on what to do with the weather.
If we can make it the evening before, we try to do so to give parents ample notice. But if we can't make a good decision the day before, then we have protocols in place. We meet very, very early. Different people drive different parts of the city to test the roads, and then we report back at 4:30, I believe it is.
We go out about 4:30.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, to Dr. Rollo's point, we go out at 4:30, but we have to, our buses get out on the road most of the time by 6:30. So we're trying to make a decision, and and based on at 4:30, what does it look like? And then what's it gonna look like at 6:30 or 7 o'clock when our buses are actually out on the road? So to Shane's point, we become weather forecasters as to, well, it's, you know, and we're paying attention to the lines as to where the ice line is and how fast it's going, and where are we going to be? Are kids going to be in the school already? And if so, then you know, decisions. And again, fortunately for us, unfortunately for Dr. Rollo, we give her all the information, and then I think collectively, I'll say that collectively we'll make the decision on.
It's a collaborative decision.
Yeah.
And we also work with our neighbors, Friendship and Cooper, and I communicate with Keith and Michelle via text. If we can make the same decision, it usually is better for all of us. But we also have some unique circumstances in that we don't have as many rural roads, and so sometimes we have to make some differing decisions, but we try to be on the same page if we can.
Thank you.
Shane, the question and then a comment. The door contacts alarm, that sounds like a love-hate relationship. Is that going to be able to be set up in a manner where passing periods?
Yes.
Because, I mean, I could imagine if I was a teacher and that thing's going off in between periods, that's going to be.
I can program it in with the bell schedule. So the 5 minutes that the door is supposed to be coming in and out. Let's take a high school. If students are leaving the school to go to the ATC or AgriStem or something, I can turn it off for those 5 minutes during passing period, so it's not beeping during passing.
But we also have an adult posted at every
Yes.
door during passing periods.
And that's another rule. Anytime there's a door that's unlocked, you know, especially high school's passing period, doors get unlocked for a little bit so kids can get to their cars or kids can get back in from these facilities. Anytime there's a door left unlocked, there has to be an adult posted there watching to see who's coming into the building.
Yeah. And then I would just say, I mean, I said it earlier, and I think Nancy had a great statement as well. I had both a wife and a son at one of the schools that was, you know, evacuated, and even before I was on the board, I honestly, I feel like my family is as safe at school as anywhere in this city. And so, you know, can bad things happen? Absolutely. There's horrible people in this world, but I really think the district as a whole, I think every district as a whole is doing a fantastic job of protecting those that we love the most. And so I think it starts with the teachers because they're the closest to the kids, and our administrators. And so beyond just yourself, which I think you're doing a great job, and I can now understand why you got the job. You love this, and I don't mean that rudely. You're like Damon talking about computers, but I just appreciate what everybody does because I really do. I wasn't worried Wednesday. I mean, maybe I'm callous, but I felt really good about what was happening and where my family was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it still not required statewide that the interior doors are locked?
And you're correct. It's not required statewide, the interior, but we do have an Lubbock ISD policy that Dr. Rollo approved that we're going to lock all inside doors if there's a student inside that room.
And that's really kind of where I was going with that, is although it's not state mandated, kudos to you and kudos to Dr. Rollo for taking the extra steps of keeping our teachers and our kids safe, having a full-time employee that's doing nothing but checking doors. And I think at one point, Rick, did you tell me that Sodexo has 2 full-time employees, that's their entire...
So Sodexo has a stop and drop rule. When they get a work order for a door, they stop whatever they're doing and they go address that door. So I don't know maintenance-wise how many directly are responsible for that, but it is a stop and drop rule that if they get a work order for a door, an exterior door, they're going to go and they're stop with it. Whatever they're doing, they're going to stop and go address that door.
In our interior door rule, because we do have that policy, the Region 17 audits do check and give us feedback on that, but it is not across the state. That rule has been in effect for us since 2018-2019 school year. That was the first year we implemented that. It was not the most popular announcement that I made, but it was the right thing to do.
Having 2 kids in the schools, I would say thank you to everyone involved.
Absolutely.
In making
It's
that
just an
decision and
added,
keeping them-
another layer of protection.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you, Shane.
Thanks.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you, Shane.
All right. We'll transition into our projections and tiered school support. Get set up here.
All right, so while we are transitioning, I will just open this portion of our workshop by sharing that, as you guys know, and as I've shared with you, last year and then again this year in a separate lawsuit, our official school ratings have been held up in court. But we have projections. We have someone who runs projections for us, and so we wanted to share with you and our community, to be transparent, where we are in our projections and what we're doing about our projections. So this presentation is going to be about where we are, and it's also going to be about how we have tiered support for our campuses. So I'm going to turn it over to Misty.
So as you can see, we're coming up with the brilliant army because we
quite
want
a row right
to
there.
help provide clarity to show that we are a team. We are working together to do things to support our campuses and to make sure that we're doing that together. As Dr. Rollo referenced, we've given you some headlines in the presentation to show you that projections have been delayed due to court order at this time. They were delayed until August, and now they have, sorry, I'm trying to not stand in the wrong spot. They were delayed until August. They've now been delayed until September 14th. If we had a crystal ball, we would make a guess that there potentially will be another delay coming in the next few days. So we are moving forward. We have already moved forward. We started working over the summer to make sure that we're prepared, that our campuses were prepared to begin. We've already dug into the data. We know it. We're using it to move forward. So we are also moving forward with our communication and what we're sharing. I'm going to stand this way, sorry. So when you look at our district overall score, in 2022, we were at an 87. Then in 2023, when the test changed, accountability changed, and the game changed. So think, for example, we're playing a football game, and it takes a specific set of rules in order to score, and now all of a sudden it takes another set of rules to score. And that's what you see in some of that shift and transition. So our projection was not shared in 2023 due to another court injunction in the state of Texas. Our 2024 score has not yet been shared as a district due to another court injunction. So what we know, though, is when the rules changed in the state of Texas around accountability, we are still working the work for our campuses. We are still supporting our campuses, and we are still looking at what we can do to change and grow and move forward. Just to remind you, we've talked a lot in this room about START 2.0. So transition happened inside the test. So now we have a test that incorporates writing in every grade level. The questions look different. The expectations are different. The goal line is different. And accountability is calculated in a different space. So everything changed in the way that we played the game, but we're still doing the right thing, taking care of students. So along with doing that, the board has set a goal that by 2026, at least 80% of our students will be served in an A and B school. We use the word at least to know that, of course, we want to see all students served in an A and B school. Our goal for 2024, as set by the board as part of your goals, was to reach 60% of our students. In 2024, with our projections, 64% of our students were served in an A and B campus, and we are working really hard to try to progress that goal forward in 2025 to keep moving toward that 2026 goal. We want to spend time talking to you today about what we're doing. What does it mean when we work that work, and what does it mean when we support our campuses at different levels? So I'm going to turn it over to this amazing team who's going to share a little bit about each stage.
Thank you. Good morning. As Misty said, we are wanting to support the campuses, and we want to provide that differentiated support just like our teachers do with our students, and make sure that we meet the needs of the campuses. And so prior to even getting the scores in, we sat down and looked at how we could tier our campuses to best provide that support. And we developed and use a rubric that has 6 criteria, and that's what I want to talk to you today about. You can see our triangle of support. That green level is Tier 1 support, and that's the support that all of our campuses get. Then some of our campuses, based on this rubric, need a little bit of additional support, and so some of the campuses are in yellow because they get a little bit more. And then finally, we have a very few campuses that will need even more support, and those are our Tier 3 campuses. The 6 criteria that we use, you can see the first one is leadership team systems. So the first thing that we looked at, and we had a rubric that had points, and we looked at, do we have a new principal on that campus? Or maybe a new principal admin team, a new principal and assistant principal. Does that leader meet regularly with the leadership team? And if so, do they have systems in place, like a rolling agenda? Do they have all of those items in place and going? And we gave them a score based on that. Then we looked, of course, at the summative assessments. And the summative assessments primarily are STAR. So once we got that data in, we really dug into their scores on STAR. But then we also looked at particularly at our high school ACT scores, not ATC, ACT and SAT scores, and the TSI as well. We scored campuses based on those scores as well. And then we looked at human capital, looking at teacher turnover. How many new teachers, how many teachers with just 5 or less years of experience are on that campus? Because of course they're going to need additional support. We looked at how many adjunct teachers we have, those that maybe hadn't been through a prep program. We also looked at, in addition to just the numbers, what kind of support does the campus provide? Many of our campuses go above and beyond and have new teacher academies on their campuses and provide additional mentorship. And so we looked at that. We looked at data from Kami's department around behavior. We looked at office referral numbers, OSS, ISS, and where did that compare to previous years? And then looking at attendance. Is that campus above the state average? Or if they're not, in student attendance, how far off are they? We also looked at teacher attendance around that and the number of conferences that principals are conducting on that campus. And then finally, we looked at formative assessments. Those are just those shorter assessments along the way. That might be district assessment, the spring benchmark. That kind of was in conjunction with those summative assessments. So looking at all that data, we scored our campuses and then looked at them holistically to determine if they were a green, a yellow, or a red level campus. And then we determined what kind of support we would provide for each one of those. And so I'm going to turn it over to Beth, and she's going to talk about our green, our Tier 1 campuses and their support.
Good morning. So our Tier 1 supports, as Kim mentioned, are provided to all of our campuses. The things that you see listed here are aligned to the 6 criteria that were on the rubric. And these are provided in conjunction between the executive principal that is supervising the campus, as well as our teaching and learning department, professional development department, and our S4. So that includes making sure our leadership teams have clear roles and responsibilities that they are following, that obviously we are monitoring their data quarterly, those formative assessments. These campuses have a little bit of autonomy in their campus programming that they can implement. And then a lot of our supports come through S4. When they need support for SST, 504, ARD facilitation, they're receiving resources to help implement IEPs and resource courses. And then some of our campuses will also receive student behavior support as needed. They have student behavior support professionals on their campus, and if they don't, they can receive that support from the district level as needed. They also provide those monthly check-ins, and then we are also providing that student and parent resolution support to all of our campuses. So again, these are the things that are provided to all of our campuses as that foundational support, and it's a collaboration between all departments and their executive principal.
Beth, would you remind them what S4 stands for?
Yes, if I can say it correctly. School support and student services.
That is Kami Finger
Amy's
and her
department,
Oh,
the large department. So
okay.
special ed, our student and parent resolution support lives in that department as well.
Okay, thank you.
Glad you didn't ask me what S4 meant. I just said. Okay, I'm going to talk about Tier 2 schools. So we look at our Tier 1 things, and Tier 2 schools doesn't mean that they're in danger, they're failing, or whatever, but it means they pinged in one area. So did their discipline rate go up? If it did, why? What happened? We look at it, we go in and we meet. Are they having more absences than normal, or is an area of their STAR score starting to decline in an area? So we had talked with this board several years ago that we know schools ebb and flow, right? What our goal is if it goes and drops down a little bit, we rebound and go up. We don't want to drop and a drop. So you think of our Tier 2 schools or our yellows is they have a drop in the area, and we're trying to stop it and change it and go up. So what does that look like? It looks like they get at least a weekly to an every other weekly meeting from me. So I'll start at the beginning of the year, or Amy or any other executive principal will. We'll look at why or what area we need to focus on. That'll become part of their campus goals at the beginning of the year. It'll be on their campus improvement plan. We'll look at a strategy, how we can identify that, what we need to do to change it, and then weekly to every other week, we'll talk about, is it happening? Do we see it? Is it working? Getting about the time of the year where we have data and we can look at things and say, is it trending in the right direction or is it not? And if it's not right now, we have to figure out why. Is it a system problem? Is it an implementation problem? Then we change, we adjust, and we pivot. So we're getting to the stage where we're starting to pivot and adjust in certain areas. But that's our Tier 2. The way I look at it too is if I've got a brand new principal in the building, I come to you every week, I talk to you about things. If I've got a seasoned principal that's been there and they've been performing well, but they took a dip, we talk every other week. We talk on our feeder meetings, but we provide the level of support that they need based on that. So I just think of these as like stoplights. Green, go, they're doing good. Yellow, caution, like slow down, let's look at something so that we don't have any more. Now I'll let Amy talk about our Tier 3.
Good morning. So as they shared, our Tier 3 are our most intense campuses. Those are the red campuses at the top of the pyramid. There are 11 of those that we have identified. And these guys started working early this summer on some best practice pieces. And so we started off with very delineated roles and responsibilities for the leadership team, very targeted rolling agendas for PLCs so that time is used wisely and so that we can set up systems where we can set action steps and then follow back up with those. Each campus has data trackers so that we're tracking the data of each individual student to make sure that we are meeting the growth areas that we need to. But most importantly, we set up some goal setting pieces. So each one of these campuses set some very targeted, very few, but very deep running goals. And so those goals are based on the Effective Schools Framework levers. And those are the areas that we feel like will have the biggest impact on those schools. Now, if they are a campus that's under the ESF grant or a comprehensive campus that is under a target improvement plan, those goals are all aligned so that the campus is focusing all of their, utilizing all of their resources to best meet those goals so that we're not running in multiple different directions and so that we're really trying to do what will have the biggest impact on the schools.
Amy, would you tell them what ESF stands for?
Yes, ma'am. That is the Effective Schools Framework, and that is what we base a lot of our work around. And so there are different levers based on that. And so each campus has different needs. They may have pinged as a Tier 3 campus for behavior, for academics. And so that whichever lever will be most effective for them is the ones that we are targeting. So once we have set those goals in place, which we have now, then the executive principal for each of these campuses provides them with more intensive support. So we meet with them at least weekly, but in some cases bi-weekly. And they also have, I call it bat phone status. If they call us, we step out and take their call because we want to make sure that we are providing them real-time support when they need it. They also meet with our executive coaching team monthly, and we evaluate their goals and track their data to make sure that we're on track. But in the case that we may not be, then we've got a menu of supports that are listed here that we can go back and support them. And so that may be behavior support through the S4 team, or it could be something as specific as SST 504 support. Every campus is a little bit different, so we've got to meet them where they are with all of the resources that we have to ensure that each one of our students has the best possible outcome. Thank you.
I think the thing that we want you to see, first of all, we have an incredible team who cares deeply, who are passionate about what we're doing, even though the state is holding or we're under an injunction for accountability. We are still digging into the data, and we are being strategic in what we are doing to support campuses. I think that's really important that we look at that word. Strategy is an intentional plan. It means we are giving support where needed. It means that we are intervening where needed. It means that we are setting goals that are targeted and intentional to make sure that we are growing all kids. And that is the purpose behind what we're doing in our tiered systems of support. So we're happy to answer questions for you. I know that you've received our list already color-coded of where our campuses are, and we're happy to resend that out again so that you can see that as part of your superintendent.
Misty, I was going to, and you may have said it and I just missed it, but the injunction, the court fight, Lubbock ISD is not part of that lawsuit, but this time it is around AI grading. Can you just explain a little bit of what that
It is. So right now, last year's court injunction was that there was not a release of the information about the change of the test in time. In order to actually give the accountability results. This court injunction is that there was not clarity in the grading system of the assessments. And because the Texas Education Agency is using an AI platform to support grading the writing components, and there has been concern over the viability of that system. So other districts, not Lubbock ISD, participated in a lawsuit, and then that lawsuit is still in the courts and has continued to get delayed in the courts. And until that lawsuit is resolved, the accountability results cannot officially be released.
I appreciate you guys going ahead and addressing things based on projections. So, good job.
And I
Thank
just
you.
want to reiterate that we, as you said, you made it clear, we knew this data was coming. We knew that this was, you have been digging into the data. So we didn't last week come to the table and say, oh gosh, maybe we should.
We have had our projections for quite a while. As the team talked about, we've worked all summer to look at our projections, to tier our campuses, to work with our principals, to begin providing coaching and have a plan ready for when school started.
Right.
We have already moved forward. So we have moved on beyond that because we have kids in our building who are learning every day, and we can't wait.
A quick comment and then a question. First of all, I just want to say this is a tremendous amount of quantitative and qualitative data that you guys are putting together. So I just want to commend you on that and thank you for having people in your group whose brains work that way, because mine certainly doesn't. The question is, more of a comment / question. Would it be fair to say that year over year, a 10 or 11 percentage point swing would be very uncommon for a school district? So, and just kind of speaking to the way that the rules of the game changed, I mean, wouldn't you be looking more at like a 1 or 2% differentiation versus a 10 plus percentage point differentiation?
Yes, and when you looked at that slide where you saw the 1 percentage point change versus the 11, that shows the difference of the rules changing.
Yeah.
When the rules change so significantly, so we changed the test, we changed how we calculate accountability, we changed what the end goal is. So think of it as we went from football to rugby and said, oh, let's change everything. When you make that level of change, then you would expect that level of swing. The entire state saw that level of swing.
They went from every school is equal to population.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So everything about that changed. But in those last 2 years, when you don't see a significant change, that is more what we expect in normal as we're growing campuses over time.
But just important to
Yes, sir.
understand and for the public to understand that Lubbock ISD didn't dip that much. It was a function of outside
Absolutely.
We
factors.
actually had
The
a
rules
big,
changed.
Yeah.
from the 2019 to 2022, we had a big jump.
Yes, yes.
Which
Because it was apples to
unusual.
apples.
Yes, it was apples to apples. We had
Right.
a big jump from a 79 to an 87. And so we were really excited about that, but then the rules were adjusted. So
And I just want to also, this was not isolated to Lubbock ISD. I mean, there's how many school districts in the state that also, and I know we're not comparing us to the state. I'm not making an excuse, but there are some trends that is not just Lubbock ISD.
We follow the state trends. Again, because of the injunction, we don't have public accountability shared across the state, but we follow the trends of the state. I think the message that's really important from this team, though, is that at the end of the day, we're about growing kids.
Right.
So we are taking the new rules, we are taking where we are, and we are moving forward to make sure that kids are growing. We obviously had our time and space of frustration, where the new rules and the ever-changing pendulum swinging was frustrating. But at the end of the day, we dig deep into the data to look at it at kid level to make sure that we're growing kids and we move forward.
I think several have already said it, but I commend you, Dr. Rollo, for talking about the projections and acting on them. I'm a huge supporter of public ed. All my kids go to public ed, but I think public ed continues to shoot itself in the foot. And I think the lawsuit year before last, and I think the lawsuit this year have been detrimental, in my opinion. I mean, I hate that we judge everything based off of a test. I said that at convocation. I still feel that same way, but it's a bar, and so we know where we're at. I think what I'm most concerned with, and I know you guys are too, but is those campuses that a lot of campuses fell from 22 to 23. I think the ones that I'm most concerned about are the ones who had the same leadership over the last, say, 3 years and fell again from 23 to 24. Not to say that the number identifies you, but that's a trend with respect to something going on. The one question I have, and do we, y'all talked about one-on-one coaching with the principal. What, if any, interaction does this team have with the APs? Because I think sometimes, not everybody's comfortable in sharing their thoughts in a group setting or a setting where they don't think it's going to be kept private. But I think a lot of times the people that are working most closely with those in leadership have the best insight. And so if we're not allowing them to independently review the leader of the campus, I think we may be missing the boat there, because I think there's some constructive criticism, if it's used that way, that could help everyone.
you want to address that?
I would say, depending upon the tier, if you're a tier 3 school, then we sit hand in hand as a team. So I work with the leadership team. I don't work with the specific
Gotcha.
principal.
Okay.
So we look as a team, who's doing what? Is it a math problem? Is it a reading problem? Is the AP over math? Is the AP over reading? Where do they got to do? Let me coach you up. Let me work. Debbie Alderson, who's our district school coordinator, I always mess that up. She works with our schools.
S4.
Yeah, there you go, S4.
Just joking.
But she's with us too on those. So she works, and we sit in PLCs. We watch them speak to the teachers. We give them feedback afterwards. So when we say we give them specific feedback, APs and principals, that's there. Tier 2 schools, a lot of times it's just with the principal, and then your green ones, your tier 1s, we don't. And so, but I will tell you, our green ones, I mean, like, we know them, they know us, they call us. I mean, and it's very specific and targeted and feedback. Let's reflect on it and let's grow. The hard part for me is not just telling people what to do, but it's actually coaching them to reflect and grow, which
Yeah.
Misty's done a great job of helping me with. I'm kind of more of a do this and do that. But, so that's, I hope that answers you.
Well, and we are working with the assistant principals. So we've got some pipeline things where we're working on growing them. We really are working with them, particularly the roles and responsibilities. You're responsible for this, and then following back up to see where they are, but also soliciting their feedback, because we've got some really strong assistant principals that are the drivers of some of the great things happening on these campuses. So seeing where they are so that we can find holes and help grow everybody on the team.
I would ask, we know the North Star goal that we put in place for the entire district, and can you speak to individual goals on each campus? Like, what is the goal for the growth next year as we look into each?
So it's actually specific. So when we talk about the Tier 3 campuses and then many of our Tier 2 campuses also, I think, I can't remember which one of you referenced this, but they actually have a goal page. So they actually write on their goal, our goal, they write a SMART goal. They say our goal in reading is to increase our overall score by X amount. We're going to do that by this at a quarterly statement so that we can monitor. That means we're doing this at a 3-week statement so we can monitor. So we do that around behavior, attendance, and then accountability. And our purpose in doing that is we want to be targeted and strategic in what we're setting as a goal, so that it's specific to that campus, it is attainable for that campus, but it also, they can be held accountable. And that way we can look at targeted pieces along the way to make sure that we're going. It's great to have a goal for next May. And that's a great thing to do, but that's like saying I'm gonna run a marathon by next May and I'm not gonna get up off my couch until. So we wanna make sure that we set some incremental goals along the way, that our campuses, we can do some checks to make sure that they're ready to go. So we have goal pages for each.
So you actually hit the second part of that with the accountability being in place for those. I saw a lot of support measures in place, a lot of training, and just want to make sure that the accountability is.
We talk about that balance. So for every 2 levels of support, you also have to have a level of accountability. And so we're monitoring to make sure that those goals are being met. This team sits as what we call as an executive coaching team. And so we meet every Monday. We study goal sheets, we study data, we have some data nerds, we have some others that have more of our narrative nerds, but we look at every campus every week and evaluate, and we are staying in lockstep to make sure that we're able to support each other, to call in additional support, and we need to be able to pivot as quickly as possible, because we can't wait to look up and then pivot for what kids need to do.
And then I just, like, the accountability piece goes to me too. So she holds, so when I have my one-on-one meetings with her, this is what this is what I say I'm doing on a campus, show me what you're doing. So this is how it goes too. So it's not just about the campus principal, like success or failure lies on us as well. And that's what we work with the principals about. Like, this is a we thing, not a you. We're not doing this to you, we're doing this with you. But she holds us accountable just like we hold the principals accountable too.
Great, thank you.
One last question. I noticed our attendance in one of those 6 that Kim was talking about. And we know attendance is, if you're not at school, you can't learn. And, and this may be something you have to get back, but are there correlations between schools that are having more difficulty in attendance? I know it's one of the factors you're looking at. And really, just what can we do to help get parents to get kids to school? Because they're not there.
Dr. Wilkins can help us answer that, as he's heading up our attendance task force.
Oh, perfect. And its attendance is important for lots of reasons.
So I am currently heading up an attendance task force, and we have met once so far. We're looking at a second meeting now, and we are gathering data. We have community stakeholders on it. We have teachers. We have administrators. We have central office people on this task force, and we're looking at different ways. We're looking at our procedures. We're looking at procedures that we haven't done before. We're looking at ideas from stakeholders and trying to figure out what we can do to improve attendance, because it's been a historical trend across the state that attendance is dropping.
And I know that's something since post-COVID that's been
we have not returned completely. It's improved a little bit, but we have not returned completely back to pre-COVID days yet.
Applause for doing that, because I think that's so important. Good job, you guys. Wow.
I'm really proud of this team. As you can see, we have people who are very passionate about our kids and about their growth, and I'm proud that they were willing to go ahead and share this information with our community so that they know we're not waiting for the state. We are moving forward and doing the right things for our students.
And not hiding. That's,
No.
I love the transparency. Good job.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you, team. We appreciate you. All right. An executive closed session will be held under the provisions of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. It is 9:06 a.m., and we are adjourned to closed session. Right, it is 9:29 a.m. and we are reconvened from executive closed session. Do we have any actions following closed session? Hearing none, it is 9:29 a.m. and this meeting is adjourned.